What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode, guys. And I haven't posted for a month, so I apologize for not posting recently. But I'm back now. My hockey season ended last Saturday. It was definitely a long one. We played about 100 games in the season, so it was a lot of fun. But now that is over, and I can actually focus on the playoffs in Connor's Corner over the playoffs. So I'm pretty pumped for the postseason, guys. I think this has the potential to be one of the best Stanley Cup playoffs that we've seen in a very long time, just because of the parity in the National Hockey League. The past couple of seasons has the most parity out of any national sports league in North America for sure. So that is very exciting. There's so many teams that have possibility of going very far, and there's a lot. That means there's going to be a lot of great and close first round matchups. We have some matchups that we saw last year: Boston, Toronto, and San Jose, Las Vegas. That I'll be doing the review today. So we do have a couple of series that we saw last year, and then we have some series that we haven't seen ever before as well, or not for a long time. So we've got a couple great matchups. I'm going to be previewing the Western Conference today, and then I'll probably be posting a video on the Eastern Conference tomorrow or later today as well. So we have a couple great videos planned for you guys. Make sure you guys go hit the like button down below. That would mean a lot. Go tell your friends about the channel. I'm super pumped for the playoffs, so let's get right into the Western Conference playoff review. Alright, let's start with the Calgary Flames and the Colorado Avalanche. The Calgary Flames finished atop the Pacific Division, top of the Western Conference as well, and finished second in the National Hockey League. Personally, I like to say they finished first because the Lightning are kind of in a league of their own in the regular season anyways. They take home to the Colorado Avalanche. So the Avalanche came second wild card position this season. They were one of the last teams to clinch a playoff spot, the last team in the Western Conference, that is. And I feel like this series is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think, even though I believe it's going to be one of the more lopsided series that we do have in the playoffs this year. I still do think it's going to be a bit closer than people think. Some people have it in 4, some people have it in 5. I still have the Flames personally in the series. I will get to kind of the end prediction later on at the end. But Calgary Flames, they had a bit of they have a bit of a decision to make in goal. Mike Smith, David Riddick, neither one of them was really able to claim the net down the stretch. Both goalies have had a couple of hot streaks, a couple of cold streaks, and then in the end, both goaltenders were pretty solid. I think they're going to go with Mike Smith. While for the Colorado Avalanche, it looked like it was going to be the same situation that the Flames are in, except Philip Grubauer down the stretch at a .947 goals against average, and really kind of stole the net from Varlamov in the end. So I think Grubauer will get the starts against the Flames in Game 1. I believe the series starts Thursday, I believe it is. So I do think Grubauer will get the start, and I do think Smith will get the start as well. He looked pretty solid in the last couple of games. I think he's just got the more playoff experience, so the Flames will probably go with that guy. As for defense, the Flames definitely have, in my opinion, the better defense for sure, and probably one of the best, if not the best, defense corps in the National Hockey League today. Mark Giordano is going to win the Norris Trophy. Let's just say that right now. I know all Leafs fans are going to say it's going to be Morgan Rielly. It's going to be Mark Giordano. He's had an incredible season with the Calgary Flames, and I think this guy's really going to lead that defense core of the Calgary Flames. On the Colorado Avalanche side of things, Tyson Barrie, very good defenseman. Samuel Girard, a bit younger. He doesn't have much playoff experience. He did make it to the playoffs, gave 6 games to the Nashville Predators last season. And then on the forward side of things, now this is where I think the Avalanche are going to have to try to win the series on, is obviously from their superstars, Nathan MacKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen, for sure. I think they're going to really have to carry this Avalanche forward core, and I think if they have any shot of winning this series, I think it's going to have to be that top line really coming through in every game that they play, and I don't think that's going to happen against the Calgary Flames. The Flames have, I think they matched their top line with Monahan, Gaudreau, and Tkachuk, and Elias Lindholm, or Tkachuk, whoever they were going to play there, but they've got so much depth that I don't think the Avalanche are going to be able to contend with them. For that reason, I have the Calgary Flames in 6 games. You might have noticed some of the names on the bottom. I've got some key players for every team during the series. Matthew Tkachuk for the Calgary Flames. Like I said, I think the top 2 lines of these teams could go head-to-head, but I think if Matthew Tkachuk gets on the second power play unit or the second, he's going to probably play on the second line, I'm guessing, I think he's going to be able to find a breakthrough. And Derek Brassard, he's had a lot of playoff experience with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He did go, I think he was on the team when the Senators went the length to the conference finals. I believe he was on that team as well, so he does have a lot of playoff experience, and this guy is pretty close to a point per game. I think he's got 37 points in 50 Stanley Cup playoff games, so I think if the Avalanche wants to advance, they're going to need some secondary production. I think Brassard is definitely going to have to give him that, but again, I've got the Calgary Flames in 6 games. On to the rematch between the San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights. This is a series that I'm super excited for, probably the most excited for out of all the Western Conference matchups. Both of these teams have stellar offenses, fantastic defense, and Martin Jones has been a bit sketchy as of late, but we'll talk about him in a little bit. I think the Sharks and Golden Knights, they were definitely closer down the stretch. Golden Knights, right after the trade deadline, they looked unbelievable. I probably watched the 5 games after the deadline to kind of watch Mark Stone in a Vegas Golden Knights jersey, and they looked fantastic. San Jose Sharks have just always been kind of at one level all season. They haven't had many down streaks, but they have had a lot of great moments this season. Sharks finished second, so that means they do have home ice advantage in the first round. Golden Knights, I will give them the edge in goal. Marc-Andre Fleury, one of the best goaltenders in the National Hockey League, still doesn't have a Vezina. I was hoping he was going to get it this year. Looks like it's going to go to Andrei Vasilevsky. Martin Jones, I said a bit earlier, he's been a bit sketchy. He has not been the Martin Jones that we saw a couple of years ago. He's just kind of been subpar, if not below average, goaltender down the stretch for the Sharks. They're going to need Martin Jones to really step up. You might have noticed Erik Karlsson is the key player for the San Jose Sharks. I don't know if you can even see the key players. Anyway, Erik Karlsson is the key player for the San Jose Sharks, and I think this guy is close to a point per game in the playoffs. He actually surprises me that he has actually a good amount of playoff experience for a guy being on the Senators the last couple of years. This guy has had great playoffs in the past. Definitely led the Senators to the conference finals when they did make it a couple of years ago. I think this guy is going to be the key player for the Sharks. He's kind of gone under the radar in San Jose like we all expected him to do, especially going into San Jose to California. He's been under the radar, hasn't had as good seasons as I think the Sharks expected him to have, but now this is where they need him to produce in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and I think he can do that. On to the Vegas Golden Knights. Mark Stone, another Senator, so we can have a Senator here matchup. I think this guy is going to have a great opportunity to really produce, play on the second line with Pacioretty and Stastny. That line looked unbelievable when I watched them, and they're still together right now, I believe. So that second line is definitely going to be, in my opinion, the key to this playoff series. I had to pick one of them. I picked Mark Stone, and I think this guy is going to be the guy that can really carry the Vegas Golden Knights on to the second rounds. So again, there's my prediction. I've got the Vegas Golden Knights in 7 games over the San Jose Sharks. The Golden Knights were about subpar down the stretch, but I do believe that they're going to come through in the Stanley Cup playoffs. There you go. This one could be a bit wrong. This is probably one of the closer series in the playoffs right now, but I do have the Vegas Golden Knights over the San Jose Sharks. On to the Central Division now. Nashville Predators versus the Dallas Stars. The Predators won the Central Division title on the final night of the season, Saturday night. 15 games played, 30 teams in action. The Predators were able to win the Central Division on that night. I was super surprised the Jets let that one slip right through their fingers. The Central Division title, that is, they let it slip right through their fingers, and that was definitely not what they wanted. I mean, compared to the Stars versus the Blues, that's a pretty big difference in my opinion. They held the title, the Central Division title, for a long time, and the Predators came in, swept in, and took it, finishing with just over 100 points, I believe, the Predators this season, so another 100-point year for them. They have the Dallas Stars. Now, the Stars, in my opinion, are a very underrated team for this postseason. They came with the first wildcard spot. We're a couple points shy of coming third to the St. Louis Blues. But in a way, I think the Stars might have a better chance against the Predators than the Jets. I think this is going to be a very close series, closer than what some people think. I still have a lot of confidence in that Predators squad, despite having about a regular season on their standards. I think I still have a lot of confidence that the Predators have a great chance of coming out of the Central Division, but I think the Dallas Stars are going to give them a very hard time in the first round of the playoffs. I think I got a key player here, Alexander Radulov, very close to a point per game in the playoffs right now. I think this guy, again, one thing I would like to point out here is most of these guys, for key players, they're on the second line. I've noticed that in playoffs, usually teams are able to shut down teams are able to shut down those top units. It's usually more of a hard checking style, obviously, and it's usually those second, third line players that are really producing over the playoffs. That's shown in playoff past, except for the Bruins, though. That line usually is able to produce, knock on wood. But I think it's going to be more, again, of the second, third line players that are going to be able to break through some of these teams' defenses. And I think Alexander Radulov is going to be that guy for the Dallas Stars. For the Nashville Predators, I've got Wayne Simmons, trade deadline acquisition. This guy played okay as a Nashville Predator. I think he played for what they paid for him. They only paid like a second and a third round pick for him. So I think for that, he's done pretty well for the Predators. But now's the time that he has to shine. This is playoffs. This is his game. He's going to be grinding in the corners, grinding in front of the net, exactly what the Predators want him to do. And I think he's going to be able to play that role very well for the Nashville Predators. Pecorine and Ben Bishop, the two teams' goaltenders, both have had pretty good seasons. Neither of them are in it for the Vezina Trophy this season, which doesn't mean they had a bad year at all. Both goaltenders had actually a pretty solid year for both teams. But I think right now, I got to give the edge to the Nashville Predators in goal, despite Ben Bishop having a pretty solid season. Pecorine just comes through usually in the playoffs, except for that Central Division title last season against the Winnipeg Jets, where he actually got pulled. Pecorine, I think, usually is pretty calm in playoff situations. And I think I got to give the Predators the edge in goal. I've got Nashville winning this one in 6 games. I think that they still are the better team. I think a lot of Nashville Predators fans were kind of freaking out going into the postseason while they did get the Central Division win. So that probably gives them a bit more confidence. Like I said, I've got the Nashville Predators in 6 games. And the final series that we have today is the Winnipeg Jets versus the St. Louis Blues. Now, this series is the one I have the hardest time trying to decide who I personally believe will win the series. Now, this one, both teams finished with 99 points, so it's going to be, I think, a real battle of this game. This series, I believe, will go 7 games. I think the Jets definitely struggled. Like I said, they let that Central Division title slip right through their fingers. While for the St. Louis Blues, last place in the National Hockey League on January 2nd to becoming what they had probably the best second half in the National Hockey League, finishing with 99 points, tied for second in that division. Now, personally, I think home ice advantage was massive in this series, and I think it was huge that the Winnipeg Jets were able to get it. The Jets just playing in Winnipeg is always hard for the opposing team. So personally, I think great on the Jets for being able to grab second place in the Central Division and home ice advantage. But at the same time, the Blues definitely have more momentum going into the postseason than the Winnipeg Jets do. Jordan Binnington doesn't really have much playoff experience, but this guy has been unbelievable. Personally, I think Binnington should be the guy winning the Calder this season. We'll probably go to Pettersson, but I do believe Binnington deserves it more. This guy single-handedly carried pretty much his team, or I wouldn't say single-handedly. He did have some help, but definitely without Jordan Binnington, I don't think the Blues are in the postseason. So for that reason, I think Binnington deserves the Calder. But back to the playoffs, he'll definitely be the starter. But good for the Jets is at least they do have Jake Allen, who will be able to step in if Binnington can't handle the pressure in his first postseason. I've got Alex Pietrangelo as the Blues key player. This guy really leads the defense corps for the Blues. Obviously, they do have a couple other solid options back there, but Pietrangelo is really the main part. Plays on the first line power play, top pairing minutes against other opposing teams' top lines. I think Alex Pietrangelo is definitely going to be a key part for the St. Louis Blues, and I definitely think he's going to show up for the first round. As for the Winnipeg Jets, Kevin Hayes, unbelievable second half for the Winnipeg Jets. Personally, I think this was the best trade deadline acquisition. They did give up Brandon Lemieux, who looked really good as a New York Ranger, and a first-round pick, but personally, I think it's all going to be worth it when the Jets do try to make a run for a Stanley Cup. And I still have the Winnipeg Jets winning this one in 7 games. Now, I think this one's going to be close, but I think the inexperience in net for the Blues might cost them here, despite Binnington having a great regular season. The playoffs are a different monster. I think Kevin Hayes is going to come through as the second-line center. They're big, they're fast, which I think is really now the new recipe for winning championships, is being fast, but also, having some physicality as well. I think the Jets do have that. I've got the Winnipeg Jets in 7 games. That's going to be it for this episode, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to let me know your guys' thoughts on the Western Conference playoff matchups down below in the comments. I'll make sure to respond to them as well. This is going to be a fantastic playoffs, especially the Western Conference. I think there's some really good matchups in it. So like I said, let me know your guys' thoughts below. I'll have an Eastern Conference video coming up probably tomorrow. And that's going to be it for the episode, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. We'll see you guys in the next episode.